Well, it finally happened, Poodle. Finally. I don't think we've ever had this in 90-day history. Or not.
I was going to say your penis inverted.
No. No, but not yet. Almost. The host actually watched the show.
Oh yeah.
I think that's the first
She was a
time.
fan.
Hello, this is Captain Poodle speaking. Are you ready to find love?
Yes, ahoy, matey.
Love. Exciting and new. Go online. They're catfishing you.
Shocker.
Fiancé.
Soon you'll be flying to parts unknown.
90-day Fiancé.
Marrying someone you only met on your phone.
Be they French or Chinese, a brand new K1 visa's the key.
Ooh, the key to what, Poodle?
To love.
It's reality, yes, let's love.
I think Catherine Ryan watched the show.
Oh, that's true. She watched the show. We loved her. We thought she was great too.
Yeah.
Y'all.
Yeah, this
Who
is
knew when you do a tell-all?
90-day UK episode, season 3, episode 13. The tell-all, the hour and 37-minute tell-all.
True.
I guess they needed that. Would have been like a 1/5 of the current happily ever after tell-all.
Yes.
So what do you think? What did you think?
I didn't mind the tell-all because I didn't love the first 30 minutes where they were all talking to each other.
Yeah.
That part was boring to me. But I love Mel Giedroyc.
I'm not sure how to pronounce it. There's so many consonants.
She was great.
She said it so quickly too. She used to be on the Great British Bake Off, you guys.
And she's
Very
a comedian and an actor. Yeah. And we mentioned this on, I think, Plathville, but we really liked Catherine last year, but it needed to be a UK host.
It did. And I think even though Catherine Ryan's been in the UK for a while, she's done stuff over there. I would say I give the hosting and I liked the hosting and the set.
I loved the set. And
yeah,
it feels like
the set I liked.
They let her be a host. Again,
they did.
We don't know if Sean just isn't saying anything or
I think
they don't let her.
I think they've locked her down.
I think it's more production.
I still think she's checked out, but because she just refuses to ask follow-up questions.
I mean, can you imagine what would happen if someone started crying and Sean Robinson got up from her chair and put her hand on their back and comforted them?
That touched my heart.
What it goes back to, and I know this from doing.
When she said, "Sprite, I'm sorry, dear Sprite, I'm so sorry. I believe your fiance is crying."
It's crying. Yeah. Do you want to comfort it? There is this idea that when you're hosting anything, just when I was doing one of the big things is if you're hosting, you need to be invested in what you're talking about, and
that makes perfect sense to me.
You don't really get that in the US tell-all. So
we don't get that with Sean. No, we don't.
We don't. So
in the early days, you kind of started to. Then when tell-alls kind of became circuses, it's almost like she doesn't want to engage that much because she doesn't want to pull focus, or I think she's just kind of over it, like it's a job for her. She's coming in. She's not really interested in these people. Mm-hmm. She's not really. Yeah.
So anyway, and no, y'all don't tweet TLC and ask them if we can host the tell-all. Ain't happening. Poodle and I are not ready. We are not prime time.
I think they do need two things. They need a comic, someone who can make jokes, who can lighten the mood, and they need someone who's who watches the show.
I
Like a
think they
Michelle
could
Buteau.
she would be great.
Would be great.
But also, I feel like I can't think of a U.S. version. Michelle Buteau would be great because she can kind of does hosting stuff. But like someone like a Kat Deely would be great. I think as a 90-day UK. Like they could go a host route too, but it just needs to be someone that I think these people talk about on 90 Day really hard and kind of sometimes unbelievable circumstances.
Yeah.
And you kind of want the host to be like, oh my God, that
That's
was
tough.
a lot. That's tough.
Yeah.
And it was refreshing because really, y'all, the tell-all host is a person that validates the audience.
Yeah,
So we
that's the
go,
voice of the
what we're thinking, we go, oh, we're not crazy because that host saw it too.
Yeah, sometimes Sean will ask follow-up questions, but it does feel like it's not that she needs to be emotionally super invested, but she needs to be interested. And it
like,
sometimes feels like she's not even interested.
Tan France for Selling Sunset, he was wonderful when he did that. Yeah.
I think they could use a female comic or a non-binary woman or non-binary comic. That would be helpful.
Or a gay guy.
I don't know if TLC's ready for that, to be honest.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Very mid-America.
It's too, might be too racy.
I think for them, yeah.
Yeah. But
Even like Ross Matthews, and he watches the show, but
I think it's time for her to go, to be honest.
I do.
I think it's time for Sean to go.
I do too.
Yeah. I think this was a good indication that she just... Yeah, we've only got through part 3 of Happily Ever Tell All, but she just seems disinterested. And that's the worst thing you can be.
It is. But
let's talk about this one part, Tell All. I was going to say I give the hosting a easy 10.
Real quick, I just want to tell people real quick. Well, before we jump in. We will be doing a Big Brother Corner on this episode of 90 Day UK Reunion because we forgot to do it on Toe. So Poodle will be doing that. Sorry, go ahead, Poods.
I just want to say, and then I give the information and the kind of the show itself kind of like a 6, maybe a 5.5. I wasn't really bowled over with anything anyone had to say.
I kind of agree with that. I feel like hosting 10-10, set 10-10. Oh, the set.
Yeah.
And again, what did you give, as you said on another podcast, the ending of Mamma Mia, where they all start getting up and singing? It was like
Mamma Mia.
Yeah. What would you give that, Poodle?
I thought they were just like going to conjure some ancient spirit by they were all dancing and Sprite was doing the worm. And it felt like nothing really mattered that we'd talked about. So let's just dance it out at the end. And it's not that it's not that I have a problem with celebrating something at the very end, but it was the fact that they just danced around like nothing had been said, even though like a lot of them had come for each other, especially John, and who was such a bitch at this tell-all.
He was such a... Who knew? We thought Sprite was going to be the bitchy one, and it was John.
And I choose this word very carefully because he was being a bitch for no reason and to get his 5 minutes, to get his 10 minutes.
It was very obvious. There's a reason when some people can insert themselves. Like even... I hate to say it, even Shekinah is really bad at inserting herself, but she says good things normally.
Yeah. There was one scene, we'll talk about it too. Do you feel like production encouraged him to do that?
Yeah.
Because, that's what I feel like too, because in that scene, John was actually talking to the PA and Sprite said, in Thai, if you do this, you won't see me again. It's going to ruin your career. And the PA was like, it kind of caught them with like backstage stuff. Yeah. And I'm surprised they showed it.
Yeah. They're all waiting in that alley, like just drowned cats.
It feels like production was telling John to come for people.
I think so.
Yeah. That didn't feel good.
It just was another moment of fraudacity in their storyline that we felt. So, And John even did a thing as he showed up. He showed up by himself, so that way, and asked everybody, and we kind of waited for everyone to shit talk Sprite.
This
And then
is
Sprite
so
walked in.
disingenuous because then you have to actually try to be friends with these people.
Not
Nope.
Sam.
I'm gonna fuck you and make you look bad on TV.
So what? Yeah, what cast member do you think was the best of the tell-all?
What do you mean the best? I'm
Like, who
what
do
are
you
your-
think
what are your-
had the best showing?
Charlotte.
Off looking. I think Charlotte did as well.
She was telling people what she honestly thought, but nothing felt like it was trying to be intentionally bitchy or to get fame like John. She wasn't also trying to deflect a lot. She was just saying how she felt. I think she's going to come off the best of the season of anybody. And I feel like she was just authentic. Yeah, definitely Charlotte for me.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I will say, I do feel like, if I remember correctly, we liked the kind of the information and things that came out. We liked the last tell-all better.
Yeah.
I feel like I remember we liked that one.
There were a lot of clips they showed. This time.
This tell-all should have been an hour, y'all. It should not have been an hour.
Easily.
Okay.
So let's just get down to that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it.
There's a lot of crosstalk at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't want to really talk about that.
I don't
much.
think we.
The people who are there, all the couples are there. Nicole and Tar, Louise and Jose, everybody else, and Tony and Nui, and then everybody else. Sam and Ali's in Turkey via satellite, as we say. And Sprite and John show up later. And there's no Kathleen. Jamie's there without Kathleen because of visa, and he's like, it's been very hard. It's been very difficult.
Don't worry though, that mom with that lipstick is going to show up. I even thought, I went, maybe someone did her makeup and they did her lip. Nope, y'all.
Louise comes in there looking like a rapper's girlfriend from the late 90s.
I feel like their storyline just kind of finished with a wet fart. We didn't really get much from them at all.
They are not going to engage with anything. They're happy doing their own thing. I actually didn't like it when they came for him for doing music. Shut up.
This wasn't a plot point of the show.
It wasn't.
Why? Nobody asked how they get money. And that's none of your business. We don't see them talking about. Yes, it felt like, well, they had nothing else. And John, of course, was the one asking all that.
Here's what no one is saying. Louise is basically the British equivalent of disability. They live off the government.
Yeah.
That's what no one was saying.
Because she has fibromyalgia, I believe.
Yeah.
Which can be debilitating. So,
yes, but that's the bottom line. That's what no one wanted to say. And that's what they didn't want to say either. But because it doesn't really play well. Let's just say that. Not a great storyline.
It just felt like what John Cummett was like, they knew, like,
it's awful.
We're the one paying for you, like our taxes.
That's what it felt.
Gross.
That's what it felt like, and it felt like they were saying, "Well, we know it's not the music. So how do you make money? Where does the money come from?" And if I was Louise, so Jose didn't know what was going on, but I would have just said, "What business is it of yours? Where my kids are old enough. Raul's fine." Pay attention to your own shitty relationships. She could have been nasty. She chose not to. She was like, it's your opinion. You can have whatever it is. Doesn't matter to me. And Jose's like, I love everyone.
So we get a little bit of Sam and Charlotte have a talk before. I don't think we need to, but I think the only good thing to know about that is kind of
Charlotte says, I've seen things in your story.
She brings that up to Sam, that I see that. Sam also kind of says a little foreshadowing, which the part of the tell-all that I like, Sam says, well, how do you feel about Tony? And Charlotte is not a fan And
I don't think anyone could be after watching that
I
season.
did enjoy their segment because everybody kind of took him to task, even the host.
I want to
Let's
say
see.
one thing. Tony is talking to Jamie. It's like, oh, this was a men's rights meeting. Just a small men's rights meeting.
Yes.
It's like, it's so hard being
I wrote
men.
this too.
It's tough for the men. I'm ex-military. Drink every time. That comes back.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes I can be controlling and
But
it's like,
as
it's
long
hard
as
for
the
us.
questions are respectful, I
Yes.
will answer them.
He did say that as long as the questions, as long as they are respectful of me, y'all. Tony's and Nui are in the honeymoon phase right now. It's not going to end well.
No.
A man like that has to. He needs to have some kind of life-changing thing to scare him out of not behaving that way.
I don't think that we'll talk about this, but he talks about seeing himself on television, but I don't really, maybe that helped, but
it took for maybe a year. I think he's right. I think it maybe took for about a year. He'll go back to just what he's doing. I want to say just a little look thing. Do you want to talk about looks just a little bit?
yeah.
I love what Mel's wearing. It's very her, the style.
It's cute little flat shoes and all
I
that.
just basically want to talk about Sprite kind of dressed like Katie Lang.
Well, this is like this is what you see all the time when the young queer people. This
He's
kind
not
of like,
young.
He's what, 20s?
He's older than that, I believe.
Well, he looks young. He wants to be perceived as young. You
But
can tell.
It's
yes,
very
totally
Katie
Katie
Lang.
Yes.
Or I also thought Felicity Huffman in Desperate Housewives, like if she's just cooked meals for her kids.
Mhm. The one side's tucked in, one's
Yeah.
not.
It's that look. I know you're right. It is what younger people are wearing.
All Saints
Like
or whatever they
floppy
fucking
clothes.
wear. I don't know. But,
Um,
and also it's telling how he and John look completely different. And they didn't even try to coordinate what they wore.
yeah. And they just kind of annoy the shit out of me.
They
To
did.
be
Charlotte,
honest.
Charlotte looked nice.
She
I
looked
thought.
good.
She looked nice. Sam looked cute.
Sam-
Nicole, actually, I thought looked
Oh.
beautiful.
Boy, someone does pregnancy well. They
Beautiful
look
color.
pregnant.
Beautiful color on her. And she looked beautiful.
Jamie was fine.
Hi.
Hi.
Jamie looked fine. His mother looked horrible. Her dress was her outfit, but her makeup was
She looked
just
terrible. Yeah,
was
she looked
just
terrible.
horrible.
Awful.
Now,
Awful.
Ollie got a haircut and it looks really good.
It did. I think Taher did too.
Oh, he
And
did,
it looked
yeah.
it looked good. It's
It's
curly now. It used to be so short when he said.
Mhm.
Anyway, y'all, Jamie might have a crush on Charlotte. She would eat you up, first of all.
Yeah.
And moving on, and John says that it's like he's watched too many Housewives reunions. Like, if anyone comes for me, I'm going to give him 3 chances. 1 is a warning, 2 is I tell you to stop, and 3, I forgot where I was going with this.
What was I gonna say?
Bitch, you're dead. And I said, you're not on Drag Race UK, honey. You're just, and you're trying too hard,
Yeah.
and you're not made for this.
I'd love to, if they're kind of getting ready, and you see a little bit of Mel even saying like, well, everyone falls in love on a holiday. It's grist for the mill. Just happens.
And even the guy's like, I don't even remember that guy's name.
I don't. I think that's all that I have for
We
like
can just jump in with Charlotte.
Yeah.
Charlotte is in a very good place.
One more thing. I'm so sorry. Best line of the show is because we didn't talk about what you talked a little bit about. Oh my God, I'm blanking. You talked a little bit about Louise, but you didn't talk about what's his name? Chicken. I'm
Jose.
blanking. Jose. Jose's wearing
Mylar pants. Very shiny Mylar pants.
Yeah, I like that they got out of the cab and the cab driver says, "Where do they find these people?"
It was the same driver too. It's like
It's a living.
It's a living.
He's here to make some commentary.
Common. Okay, sorry. Now you can go. I just had to talk about.
We didn't learn. I think we didn't learn a ton of new stuff for this tell-all.
Nope. It didn't really great for the rules of tell-all.
And so we do find out that Charlotte said, I'm in a really good place. I just got back from holiday. And Mel says, hearing you say holiday makes me nervous.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Great joke. That came out of nowhere. And that's the thing. People who have hosting and comedy backgrounds do really well for this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like,
because they're listening, especially a lot of these improv communities.
Yes.
We're just trained to listen and respond.
And she said, I should have listened to my friends and my mom. And turns out she did make contact with Johan. He admitted everything and wanted to get back together.
Mm-hmm.
But she asked for divorce. But he says, it happens. She didn't hear anything. He's like, what about the divorce? He's like, no, you have to pay for it. And then it's 10 days after. That's amazing.
Well,
you got to pay for it.
Typical,
just
typical
like their relationships.
Boy, when they showed the clips, because they showed a lot, he really was a good fucking actor.
And his mother and grandmother.
The whole thing.
They were all in on it.
They were all in on it.
Turns out he was messaging 50 girls.
50, y'all.
Yeah, 50. 50.
That's a lot, even for Poodle.
It's a lot. It's a lot of balls in the air.
Mm.
And we bring in an actor named Delphine. And it's a voice.
I never hear that name. I've only heard it when I used to watch Orphan Black.
Orphan Black.
So good.
It's a French name. So he said, yes, he asked me to go to the theater. It wasn't the first time. I could tell. Charlotte's like, yeah, we went there and we had sex there.
Yeah, he would take people to have sex at the theater, y'all. But
that's a good plan.
He said his mom needed a new roof.
Yep. Same old.
Sick.
Yep.
This is great for when I go to the DR, so I don't fall into a sanky-panky trap.
Yeah, boy.
I'm like, I'm buying you Taco Bell, and that's it. Let's
sitting duck. So Johan hasn't responded to any of their inquiries, but he denies and being a sanky-panky. I do want to say my autocorrect made it to lanky pinky.
Lanky pinky. Got it.
Let's move on to Jamie and Kathleen.
Jamie and Kathleen.
One of the jokes Mel said, Kathleen had been on the search for someone who could pull 6 figures. Wrestling figures, that is.
Andy shows up.
The mom.
Her foundation isn't even blended into her neck, y'all. It's not good.
They were putting makeup on these people. They just didn't put it on the guests.
I guess not. And Andy
probably says, I done my makeup beforehand, thank you.
I got this. I like a little bit of frost on my lip. She says, from what I'm seeing, I'm not impressed. And Jamie says, well, I did send her
what a fake
money.
Bitch. You the whole time you tried to act like you liked her.
And Mel brings up, she's like, you don't think it's a little bit shady that you invited his ex-girlfriend to had a party?
Tess and I are very good friends.
But Mel even tries to push her, but you don't think that's a bit weird? And then we find out Andy even tested Kathleen.
This is disgusting.
And put some jewelry and some cash out to see if she would grab at it and take it.
I say it's disgusting because who wouldn't grab the money? I would take it.
God, this is why all of your marriages end, because you just show your ass and don't play the long game.
I'm gonna say if there's money sitting there and it's not no one says that's my money, I'm gonna take a little bit as a go. Yep.
This was gross.
I'd probably leave jewelry.
Jamie says, he's like, she's like, because Mel says something like, did you do anything watching yourself back? And Jamie said, well, I think it's odd that I came off as a mommy's boy because I'm not. And I said, but you are, Blanche, you are.
And the mom's like, you got a little booger there, Jamie. Let me get it for you.
Yeah, really.
So she says, but that we're very close. He actually was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is awful.
Cancer,
but now we're closer than ever. And
that makes sense. That makes sense.
And they bring it up. Was it cheating or not? And they talk about the fact that Tess was Kathleen's friends. That was a little bit of girl code broken. But
yes.
And supposedly, I don't know who saw this. It was
Nui has a great line where she said, "I think maybe Kathleen does love you, but doesn't love you enough to protect your feelings. Isn't enough."
Yeah.
And everybody just kind of went.
Oh, by the way, she looked wonderful.
She looked wonderful.
She looked the best
looked
of
nice
everybody
too, but she looked wonderful.
I don't want to give him any compliments. So she's like, Tess said Kathleen has been seen with a mystery man, a Filipino man. And she's like, it's just a friend. He's married back in the Philippines. And then mom's like, well, I love Tess. Just keep saying how much Tess is better.
Like, love Tess. And Charlotte, this is one of her moments where she said, I don't think you like Kathleen at all. You say you do, but I don't believe it. I said, thank you. Someone said it.
Yeah. She really did. She was saying things that she'd watched and she has opinions and she thought about them.
Yeah, she even told Jamie, she said, she's not, because look, if you look back at her and Johan, like his body language and everything, he acts like he is into Charlotte.
Yeah.
Charlotte brings up Kathleen's body language tells me she's in it for not into you. She's icked.
And they bring up the poem, and mom says, he hasn't had many hidden talents. It's like, and one hidden talent. Mom was basically saying her son was hung.
Yes.
Yeah, you can tell, y'all. It's sad, but you can tell it's there. It's just a big old cock.
like a statue in Cyprus.
It's always, hi! Who has the big old dicks?
It always is. It's like evolution does that. Otherwise, no one would date them. Okay, let's talk about my favorite part of this tell-all. And this is the Tony Nui, which they now live in Thailand. Shocker.
The party boy has become a family man.
He says he still goes out with his friends, but I have to be home. He said, I've become more mature and I'm a lot happy with it. And Mel asked a great question. She said, do you agree with 85% of what Tony just said? She said, I feel like you agree that much.
Because he's looking at Nui's face. She's looking at Nui's face.
And she says, because she's kind of looking down,
like
someone who's scared to say
abused.
anything.
Yeah.
And she says, I'm so tired, but I'm still never going to give up. And then this is what I appreciate they do, because sometimes 90 Day Fiancé doesn't do this. They don't show the most horrible moments for people.
Oh, they did.
They showed the
Doorgate.
Doorgate, yes, of him making her walk back and forth. And Mel looks at him and says, that was quite chilling.
I know. I wish. It's not that it was riddled with judgment. It was just saying, this is what that was, and we need to call it what it was. And Sean equivocates a lot.
Yes, call it for what it is.
Yeah.
And Tony even said, I hate it. And that's kind of where he talks about, I watched this back.
I'm angry at myself.
I'm angry at myself.
It was my military way of talking. Again, this is why I don't think he's really changed that much. He's always going to blame something.
Yeah.
He's always the first to make an excuse for this, or I was drinking. It's my military.
He should have said it was a horrible day. I shouldn't have said that. That was a wretched thing to say to someone. And I'll never do that again. Because Charlotte's like, she's like, that was hard. She's like literally taking someone up, making comments. She's like, that's so disrespectful. And then Charlotte said, what if a man did that to your sister?
Oh, what a great question. And Sam's like, if that was me and Ali, I would have said, I'm not a dog.
He's crying.
Yeah. He says, I used to drink 10 beers. Now I only drink 1 or 2. And it's not even, do I think he has a problem with alcohol? Probably. But that's not all of it. This is much more sinister.
This is where, because Sam, actually, I have to say, maybe after Charlotte, Sam had some of the best moments, because she said, She made the dog comment, but then she followed up and she said, I think this is controlling or narcissistic. I feel like you have status above her.
He
Like,
does.
called it the fuck out.
Yeah.
And Tony said, well, she didn't want to be with me. She would walk away. No, she won't. She's in the fucking UK. Where's she going to go?
She has, this is why.
No credit card, no
this
nothing.
is why you choose women like this. Because
Yes.
you need someone who's powerless, who needs you. And he says, she's taught me a lot. I've seen how I come across, and it's been very helpful to watch. And again, I think he changed, or he supposedly changed in quotes, and says he's going to be better because she said, I'm going to leave you. And y'all, she will threaten over and over until she's too deep in it. And hopefully they don't ever have a child together. I am
hopefully
praying.
not. I am praying too.
This guy, I think he did show some type of recognition that he has a problem, but this guy's a monster. It's just a
they all
sleeping
see it.
monster. Yeah,
I think they all see it. Sam said, do you think you're going to slip back into this? And Mel's last question was him. She said, do you think you're putting on a front right now for everyone?
100%.
She wouldn't have asked that if she didn't see it. Anyway, they take a break. I think that's the end of their segment. Let's take a break.
Someone says, can I drink? And he's like, ask your wife.
Ask your wife. There's a little bit of talk. Tony says, oh, this surprised me. During the break, he said, some of that was hard to hear, but I know deep down, Charlotte, her opinions were constructive. I did not expect for him to say that. I'm not saying he's changed. I thought that was a shocking response.
I think this is someone who... I think he's not... how do I say this? I think this is someone who is wildly capable of showing that he can see the problem, but thinks he doesn't have to change it.
Yeah.
And which really, these kind of people are the most dangerous people you meet in life.
Oh, yeah.
Who are very self-aware.
We never see them again.
I really hope that she gets away from this guy.
Same.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Just everything about him feels. I don't think I could ever be with someone who made me go outside the door again and ask to come back in. I don't know. I don't know if I could. I could just replay that in my head.
I would probably go back in, play face, and leave in the night. Favorite
turn on the gas before I left.
Yeah. Exactly. Charlotte, I love that they're breaking. Charlotte says, where's the green room? And Mel says, I have no idea. No idea.
No idea, darling.
No idea, darling. And on that note, I think it's time, Poodle. Let's take a pause ourselves and just do it.
It's Poodle's Big Brother Corner. Y'all, Big Brother is giving this season. Oh my God.
Angry you're not on it. Ugh.
Huh?
I'm so angry you didn't.
I'm actually, this would not have been a good season to be on. There's too much going on. I would not have had enough screen time. Okay. That's one of the issues. So Tucker, who's been winning competitions like crazy. By the way, it was Cedric's head of household last week. And Cedric is not trying to get his hands bloody, and that's how he's thinking he's going to play this. But Tucker won. Cedric had put Angela and who else? I can't remember on Kenny and
don't look at me.
And himself on the block, and he won the veto, and gave it to not himself, but Angela. And it's like very rare that happens in Big Brother because he said, I can win in the AI arena. And they nominated Mackenzie as well. So Mackenzie's up there. Not Mackenzie. I'm so sorry.
Mackenzie.
They nominate Quinn. I'm sorry. Quinn was nominated.
Okay.
And so they went to the AI arena. Tucker easily won. And so it was between Kenny, the retired cop, and Quinn. And like 10-1, it was Kenny going, because he's wanted to go home. Literally, the guys was like, I miss my family. I'm going to go home. And
every time they bring that up on Drag Race, they're going to go home.
Exactly. So then, it is just, it's the next thing that happens. I'm getting confused a little bit. I'm trying to remember.
Are we switching bodies right now? I'm confused.
Trying to think.
Usually
I know. I'm trying to. Why there's been 3 episodes, and I'm trying not to get ahead of myself. Regardless, it was. There was basically they were going to do this thing where, it was Cedric became the new head of household. That's what it was. It wasn't Cedric's. It was the end of Chelsea's head. I'm sorry. I'm confused. Cedric won head of household after all this. So and Angela was given the and since he survives. Kenny went home. Cedric said, "I'm going to nominate." Tucker have an idea that that they should nominate Quinn because Quinn is the guy from Oklahoma who still has the power, and they want to flush out that power, even though they really don't know what it does. So, and basically Cedric's like, it's not really good for my game though, and then kind of agrees, and then because he's trying not to get anyone, he should have never told Tucker he wanted to do it, and then he's like. The next day, he's like, Tucker, don't use that veto on yourself. Because he wins the veto. Tucker wins all the comps. He's a fucking comp beast. So you're not going to be able to get him out if you don't shoot first. Oh, he's really hot. So anyway, Tucker says he doesn't use the veto. He uses it on Angela, and he's supposed to nominate Quinn, but he nominates Mackenzie because he said that's better for my game. And Tucker's like,
he is hot.
Oh, he's real hot.
He looks like Jon Snow.
Tucker's basically like, that's it. I'm gunning for you now because that's the kind of chaotic player they are. Anyway, Tucker wins again. And it is going to be now. I've got this confused. I'm so sorry, but just know this: Angela won head of household again, so it's more chaos. Quinn is going to use the power, which is a deep fake HOH that he makes all the nominations. She still thinks she can make nominations because they don't know what the power is. So the AI version of her shows up and goes, "I have nominated." She's like, "But that's not me. What's happening? I promise that's not me." And they nominate. That AI says it's Tucker. Who else is it? Tucker. I'm being terrible about this. I believe
I'm just looking up the pictures of the shirtless guys from the show.
And there's someone else. Mackenzie. Because they want Cedric wants to be the volunteers to be a real competitor, so Tucker won't win the veto.
Okay.
So y'all, it has been a nutty 3 days. Tucker is still winning everything. The problem being here is now that there's 3 people, you can't backdoor someone as easily.
God, that's my favorite.
And so now Tucker's you have to you have to nominate them and they can't be replaced. So they're going to have to wait till Tucker loses something. And Quinn is a real snake in the game, and I don't love the way he's playing. He's going to wind up. The thing about it is you either have to play where you don't offend anyone because you don't want blood on your hands, or you have to play ruthlessly. And he's not really gotten on either side of that. And he's a student of the game, but I just think he's creepy. He's creepy with some of the girls, and I you'll never make me like him. He's not the kind of super fan we like. He's no Michael from the previous seasons and other super fans. But this season is giving, and I'm watching every single episode. I almost want to watch the feeds, and I never watch the feeds.
Oh.
Yeah. It's so good. And also I've heard, this is airing a little bit later, and this is not really a spoiler, but it is a spoiler, but so if you only watch the shows, Tucker has won the veto again. Already. And that's going to come.
Wow.
We'll see that on Wednesday night.
Well, I just sent you a picture of him as an underwear model.
I've seen it already. You sent it to me twice.
I have not.
Fish. Yes, you have.
That's not true.
Yes, you have. You can't remember a fucking thing.
I did not send that to you. I'm going to look at my text right now.
You sent me another picture of him. Yeah.
Well, that picture, but this was one in his underwear where you can see his thick dick.
I think he's not the best player. He is a comp beast. I love him because he's a chaos agent, and he's in there not necessarily to win it, although he kind of wants to. He's just having a fucking good time. And I do not think he's a great player. He had some moments of gameplay that were great. Now he should have been building alliances. He should have been. His resume is going to be great. His social game is crap.
Got it.
But the problem is, once you've lied, Quinn has lied to everyone about what his power is, and so that's not going to help either.
No.
So that's where they are. I still think the dark horses are Joseph, and probably Chelsea. They have one alliance called the Pentagon, and the Visionaries, which are three of them. But the Pentagon is the one that's kind of dominating right now, and it's kind of a stupid alliance made of a lot of floaters. So we'll see what happens. But it's Big Brother. It's good.
All right, then.
If you don't watch Big Brother, you could have skipped all through that because you don't know what the hell's going on.
Wish I could have. I'm kidding.
Back to set.
All right. Some things we want to talk about. So, because some things that they're in the green room, and that's where John says, now is not the time to hold back. I don't like a lot of you.
I don't like a lot of you.
I've spoken shit about a lot of you, and I don't care. He literally goes by he's like, I spoken shit about you, Charlotte. I spoke shit about you, Sam. Even Nicole, he's like, I spoke shit about Nicole. And Nicole goes, oh, what?
You know why this is so ineffective? He's not specific. He doesn't even say what he said. He's cowardly.
No.
That's the thing, y'all. Ugh, this is not how you do shade.
You know what it made me think?
Come on.
We talked about that their segments seemed so weird and odd and erratic that we thought it was a lot of fraudacity. And I still think there's some of that. But I also wonder, is it because that is the way John is? I think he's kind of erratic and a fame, and it's just one day is just trying to put on another hat so someone will love him and he can be famous.
Right.
It's gross.
You need to go and see. He needs to watch Housewives reunions and know what shade and telling off people and the way to insult people. Watch Meredith Marks. Watch Meredith Marks destroy someone with an offhanded comment.
Yes.
or in the early days, Bethany Frankel. Who could say who went a little bit more for people, but it had substance behind it.
Yeah.
This is not how you do it. He needs to be more of a student. If he wants to do it, you got to know how to do it well.
Also, you are gay.
That's what I'm saying.
Better. You know better. You know better. Okay. So anyway, he says that, and then They're talking a little bit backstage. John brings up the music and Louise. I don't want to get into that.
This music is not a proper job thing. The thing about it is, y'all, it's not. Louise even said that. He does stuff on social media. He does stuff in promotions and things like that. They get a little bit of that, but they get money from her disability. That's what it is. And I wish they would. It's kind of weird that they were allowed to talk about this.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
That's when Sprite has a whole quote like, if you do this, you'll stop seeing, I don't like it. It's going to ruin your career.
Yeah.
And John's like, why can't I have my own opinion? And Sprite says, well, it's up to you. But he said in Thai, but I already told you. And John's like, that's not fair. You're controlling me. And
I guarantee you the number of times John says you're controlling me.
All the time. Again, it's like the thing. They wanted Sprite to be this. Because like Sam says, like, oh, you fat shamed him. I don't like that about him. Well, yes, he did. And we're going to get into that. But still, really, they wanted us to think Sprite was this little bitch, but it's really John. And Mel even says when they come back, she's like, what happened to the green room? I feel some tension. And she said, do you think people aren't? And I loved when she looked at the camera, telling all. Get it? It's a tell all. I loved that.
And I liked it when Nicole just said, what does it matter where they get their money? Why are you wasting your life worrying?
Yeah, because John says, I just want to know how Raul's being taken care of.
Fuck, you don't give a shit about their baby.
The only Raul you care about is some porn star named Raul.
But what of the children?
Shut up. What a piece of shit.
I know. Nicole and Tyre. God, she looks so good. Pregnancy looks so good. Turns out,
wait, is it Nicole and Tyre? Or it is.
Tyre.
It is.
Tyre's been learning English through watching Peaky Blinders.
Yes. And he does a couple of quotes.
Forking hell. He
talks about how they met. He thought her hair was pretty. And Mel said, do you feel pressure to be a perfect couple? And Todd said, I only care about her. But they talk about in Torquay, they would like to move some because everything ends at 5
closes
o'clock.
At 5.
And they're both still pretty young.
They talk a little bit about the cultural differences here. About, he said, I never told her she had to be a Muslim. That is a big thing in Islam. You're not you want someone to want to convert because they find the religion beautiful. You don't ever want to force someone.
But
they're very different than some types of evangelical Christianity.
Well, it depends on very different. It also depends on the person, how the person who is Muslim handles it. Because I would venture to say, Ta is handling it much better than Miss Mood did with Nicole. And
but he even said, "I don't want you to convert."
Would tell her that, but then he would tell her not to do all these
passive
things.
aggressive. Yeah, exactly.
Miss Mood. Clack, 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 clack.
Licorice wrists. But he did say, she said, you don't have to do everything. He's like, but you do feel the need to conform. Because even there tonight, she was covered up. So he said, I'm really fucking jealous, man. It's like, so I want what's mine to be mine. But he's like, I also want her to convert because she loves it, not because I tell her to.
Ollie kind of backs her up.
He's like, yeah, don't push it.
It's forbidden.
It's
forbidden. Yeah, because also he knows Sam is never gonna fucking
never.
But y'all, they got married. Sam and Ollie got married.
I could not believe that.
That was a gag and a goop, I have to say. And she said his family paid for everything. She said only bought the dress and that was it.
I only want to say one more thing about
I'm so sorry.
Nicole and Tar, just the very end. John says, did you just get married just to sleep together? And what happened here is he said there's no dating. In other words, if they were going to have a courtship at all, there is no dating. To stay in the same roof, under the same roof, they would need to be married. So it was like a civil ceremony. Or like a religious ceremony. I can't remember what it's called. We had to learn about that, where they had to have some kind of ceremony to say they can even stay under the same roof.
They did. So wait, you're telling me that John isn't curious and doesn't have an open mind about things?
No, he's so shitty.
He is.
Ugh.
He is.
Anyway, Sam and Ollie, back to them.
Sorry, back. They're married. And Mel says, "Well, I have to ask, are you just in this for a visa?" And he said, "No, I would marry someone older and richer."
Close to death, he said. Almost die, like 80 years old, and she enjoyed that. Charlotte does say, "I'm hearing alarm bells," because it's very similar. She's like, he's around women all the time for his work. This is true, honey, but I don't know if you have the most perspective here.
I think it's still a little close because Sam says, but there is always something, and he does have my international bank card and everything.
But I know his every move.
She's like, I know he's always with friends. And Charlotte says, it's just like watching me back.
Ugh. Ali says, everyone thinks we're fake, but all I just want to do is keep calm and take care of her. Then they bring in Nicola. And this looks like just like we're in like the full Monty or something.
Yes, yes.
Just two. And she's like, and this is the woman who was with the Turkish man who has the history.
Yes.
And she's like, Nicola hasn't congratulated me on my wedding, and she says she never will.
Remember, y'all, Nicola, who was with the Turkish man that fucked her over.
Yes.
And married her just for a green card.
And so Sprite says, come up with 3 words to describe Sam. She's like, lovely, beautiful soulmate. Not a really great.
No.
Then his picture just freezes, and she berates him for being frozen.
And it's the funniest. Like his face is just like going, and his mouth open, his eyes look, and so she's having to offend just herself. And Charlotte's like, "What do you think he does? I know you say you watch him all the time, but she says, what do you think he does when he's asleep?" And that's when Ollie's like, I'm not fucking Johan. And he goes off and he's screaming at her.
Yeah.
And Charlotte says, do you see him yelling at me? And that's when Sam's like, no one knows the real shit. Fuck it.
To be honest, I kind of think this was deserved, because this was Charlotte saying, this is just like my situation. And Ollie saying, you don't know me.
Oh, yeah, I agree. We did make a joke the entire season that.
Oh yeah, it was hysterical.
He went to the school of Olga Pudlskaya.
I think that was a lot of talk. In some way, it is very much the Hazel principle at work here. He found someone he likes enough to marry.
And I don't know why it's Sam, who's horrible.
No, she's definitely a human thumb. Yeah. I don't know. She's not a nice person.
She's not.
And y'all, Charlotte goes after Sam. They hug it out. And that's the end of their segment.
Yes. Charlotte says, she said, I know, I couldn't see till that. She's like, I hope to God he's coming for the right reason. So they come back in. And Sam says, well, the proof will be in the pudding.
Just like your father.
Who knew?
John and Sprite.
Do we have to?
Yeah,
I don't need to talk that much.
They have on engagement rings. Mel even brings it up. There was some stuff on social media that they were already engaged, and so many things about this storyline, besides seeming fake, seem that it was like just created for the show. Not that I don't think their relationship is phony. I just think some things were created. They're arguing about. John even says we have our arguments, but it's not as much, and we don't argue about the same things. And Mel's like, but all your arguments were about the same things. Money.
Yes, and Charlotte said you are treading water and not getting anywhere.
I would agree with that.
And John was like, you're not saying anything. And they really feel like, or at least John really wants to make sure, Sprite probably does too. Because what did he say later? He's like, if you don't have my phone number, then you know nothing about me. And I was like, that's a good
that one.
That's a good
If
line.
you don't have my number, you don't know me.
I think John and Sprite think they're one of those people in tell-alls that say we're the best couple.
Yeah. Do you notice what John said? It's like, what if everyone's saying we're not right? I'm worried that it's reality.
Fake.
And I'm like, is that all it takes?
This came out of nowhere, and I just thought he was like, I'm not getting anywhere with arguing, so I'm going to start crying.
Yeah. And so Mel says, do you want to take a break? He walks up. I thought it was just so sweet. She's like, it's okay. I've got your jacket.
That was so because he was hot. She's like, yeah, I've got your jacket.
Take your jacket. Do you want to take your jacket off? Do you want to take your shoes off? Sprite says the whole story here, and that's when she says, dear Sprite, John is crying. Do you want to go check on him?
And Sprite goes, oh, yes.
Probably a good idea.
I think these people, I don't know if they love one another or if they're both just fame whores and they think they can help each other out in some way. I get that feeling from both of them.
I agree. And so later on, Sprite goes to him and says, why are you crying? And he's like, but what if what they say is true?
Then Mel and them, they're outside, and Mel back is saying, they're all talking, and Mel said, isn't it awful? We're just talking about him like
we're just talking about him right here.
God, she was great.
Yeah. Fantastic. God, can you imagine her with these happily ever after assholes?
It'd be fantastic.
Oh,
I like Michelle Buteau. That's a good one.
That's who I was thinking about.
Like, I know Nicole Byer actually covers 90 Day Fiancé, and
they would not be able to restrain her.
I think she would be too big of a comedian.
Yep,
yes,
she would.
I agree. She's too character, but I love her. We still want to do a collab with her.
Yeah, but I think she'd have to tamp it down. She'd want to be, I think, more of. She'd want to be more the center, which she is. Yeah, she's Nicole Byer.
She is, because she's Nicole fucking Byer.
So they're talking about this. Like,
this is where it comes back, and then the whole thing is Sam brings up fat shaming and talking about him, and Sam tries to explain, she said, I've been team Sprite and John, but we take fat as an offensive word here. I know it isn't to you.
The way it's thrown around. Sprite says, my dad had diabetes, and that's how he passed away. And I don't know, this seemed real. I didn't see a lot real. Yeah. And he said, and suddenly, and he just kind of, and he cries, and he said, I don't want to happen to John. Nui has to go over to him.
Yes.
At this point, and John's like, I'm not going to lie. I'm lazy and I hate exercise.
Well, but also, too, that I think John's been big his whole life, so he probably has the disease of obesity. So that's nothing you can control.
And then they are officially, y'all, living in Thailand. It looks like.
That was surprising to me. I did not. No, he said we are looking at Thailand.
Looking at Thailand. I'm sorry.
And I thought, I don't think they're ever going to move.
There's
nothing.
A lot of Jose and Louise.
They're fine.
They're fine.
They're fine. Jesse's fine.
Yeah. It's a lot of now Jose's performing and he's going to sing his song. Everyone's dancing, even Ali. Sprite is dancing and Perea, mommy, Perea, Perea, mommy, Perea.
John made a beautiful cake at the end.
It's like we'd forgotten, and then Mel, like she did on the British Break Off, critiqued the cake.
Critique the cake.
Now that's a fucking callback, motherfuckers.
It really was.
That's how you call back. I liked
that was so not needed.
No,
but I loved it so much. Like when she cut into the cake and she was like, "Oh my!"
The production itself, the shape of the production was very smart, but the information I thought was kind of substandard. And
I agree.
There's a little bit of a wrap up.
And I think that's not on the tell-all. I think that's on the season.
I agree with you. Charlotte is staying single, maybe dating. Tony says, my party days are behind us. We'll see. Nicole and Tara are just living life.
John says he wants to be friends with everyone.
Yeah.
And then Jamie gets the last word. He says, a lot of things were said today, and it really made me think a lot about things.
But I'm my own person.
Mm-hmm. I'm my own person, and I'm going to give it a go. So fuck it. Everybody said a lot of really great things, but fuck it.
That's the spirit of the season. And Jose's just going, Perea, mommy, Perea.
And that is your 90 Day Fiancé UK tell-all.
Wow.
I want to say sorry it was late, but I'm not sorry. Dude, we were busy.
A lot of Love is Blind UK. Yeah. It just it also came. We didn't build it in, and that's how we and when we're throwing a big hour-and-a-half episode a week before, it doesn't really happen. We have way too much to cover lately.
Yeah, but
UK is over. So,
but I will say, except for this, which is kind of like, it is really, we are super busy this week, but it's been really fun because every show we're covering right now is firing on all cylinders.
Totally agree.
So y'all, it's a good time to be a sissy dick pig.
It's a good time to be a trash peddler.
Sure is. All right, everybody. But 90 Day UK, as Mel says, we hope it's back. We're not sure.
We haven't got the visas.
I do hope it's back because I feel like maybe in this third season they could find their legs and get it.
Fourth season,
right? Oh, fourth season. I hope. I wonder if the show is popular in the UK.
I don't know. That's a really good question.
Come at us.
It's a really good question.
All right, everyone. That is this episode. We will see you next time. Go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify to leave a review. We appreciate that. And we call these lads and lasses lonely hearts from across the pond, because aren't we all just lonely hearts looking for love in all the wrong cobblestone alleys, Poodle?
Yes. And if you come for me, I'm going to say what when I hear you the first time. Then the second time, I'm going to ask you to say it to my face. The third time, I'm going to tell you to take a long walk off a short pier. And the fourth time, I'm going to sit on your face.
Oh, yeah. That's how it usually ends. Give us a ring.